Picture this. It's 2025. The world is buzzing with new technology, but the future isn't quite what we imagined. There are no flying cars zipping through the sky, but something else is taking off. A fierce economic battle between two of the world's closest neighbors. Instead of border walls or military standoffs, the United States and Canada are locked in a high-stakes dispute, not over land, but over the billions of dollars generated by the world's biggest tech companies. Canada's new Prime Minister Mark Carney steps into the spotlight with a bold plan. He wants tech giants like Google, Meta, and Amazon to pay a 3% tax on all revenue they make from Canadian users. To many Canadians, it sounds like common sense. Why shouldn't these global companies contribute their fair share? But there's a catch. These tech titans are American, and sitting in the Oval Office is President Trump, back for a dramatic second term. He sees Canada's move as a direct threat to U.S. business interests and a challenge to American economic dominance. Trump doesn't hold back. He calls the tax a blatant attack on American companies, turning what could have been a routine policy debate into a full-blown international incident splashed across headlines worldwide. This isn't just about a tax anymore. It's the spark that ignites a long-simmering trade conflict. Trump reaches for his favorite tool, tariffs, threatening to slap new taxes on Canadian goods in retaliation, risking a tit-for-tat escalation. On one side stands Trump, the self-proclaimed tariff champion, rallying his supporters and vowing to protect American jobs and profits at any cost. On the other side is Carney, the calm and collected economist, promising Canadians he won't back down in the face of U.S. pressure. He frames the tax as a matter of fairness and sovereignty. But this fight isn't just political theater, it's real, and it threatens jobs and livelihoods from Ohio's manufacturing towns to the bustling streets of Vancouver. Business leaders and workers on both sides of the border are suddenly on edge. Canada sets a hard deadline, July 1st. The tax is retroactive, meaning tech companies instantly owe a staggering $2 billion. The shockwaves ripple through boardrooms and stock markets. For the tech giants, it's not just a bill, it's a wake-up call. Executives scramble to assess the impact, and investors brace for turbulence. For Canada, the tax is about more than money. It's about standing up for fairness, making sure global corporations pay their dues, and showing that even a smaller country can take a stand. For Trump, it's a red line that cannot be crossed. He draws a clear boundary, warning that any attempt to tax American companies will be met with swift and severe consequences. He's determined to defend America's biggest companies, insisting that no foreign government should be allowed to take a slice of their profits. The stage is set for a dramatic showdown, one that could shake the very foundations of North American trade and cooperation. The world's attention is fixed on what happens next. The digital services tax is about to become very real, and both leaders are digging in, refusing to blink first. The tension is palpable, and the stakes couldn't be higher. What began as a debate over a single tax has now become a test of economic power, national pride, and the future of digital commerce. Both countries are determined to prove their point. The world is watching closely as two neighbors, once partners now rivals, prepare for a high-stakes economic battle that could have ripple effects far beyond their borders. And to think, it all started with one little tax, a small spark that could ignite a global firestorm. To understand the uproar, you need to get Trump's trade playbook, a strategy that's as bold as it is controversial, and one that's reshaping the global economic landscape in real time. The answer? Tariffs, tariffs, and more tariffs. These aren't just taxes on goods, they're the cornerstone of Trump's approach, a tool he wields with unapologetic force. Trump believes America's been taken advantage of for decades by trading partners who, in his view, have played by their own rules. Tariffs, he argues, are his way to even the score and put America first, no matter the cost. Since returning to office, Trump's gone all in, 50% tariffs on steel and aluminum, 25% on cars, and even floated a 10% tax on nearly everything imported. These numbers aren't just statistics, they're shockwaves through the global economy, sending markets and governments scrambling. For Trump, tariffs aren't just about dollars and cents. They're leverage, a way to force other countries to the negotiating table, to bend on everything from trade imbalances to border security, and to remind the world who's in charge. Even Canada, once considered America's closest ally and neighbor, is now in the crosshairs. Decades of friendship and open borders suddenly mean little in this new era. The old rules of global trade? Out the window. International agreements and long-standing partnerships are being rewritten or simply ignored. Now, it's Trump's rules, and everyone else is expected to fall in line. For him, tariffs aren't a last resort. They're the first move, the opening gambit in a high-stakes game where the stakes are nothing less than global economic power. America's trading partners are left scrambling, caught off guard and unsure what's coming next. Uncertainty ripples through boardrooms and trading floors from Beijing to Berlin. Trump's message is clear: play by his rules or pay the price. There's no room for compromise, only winners and losers in this new trade war. Canada is about to learn that being a neighbor offers no protection. Proximity and history are no longer shields against the force of American tariffs. The era of aggressive tariff diplomacy has arrived, and it's rewriting the rules of engagement for every nation on the map. The world is bracing for impact, uncertain who will weather the storm and who will be left behind. North of the border, Mark Carney takes charge, an economist, not a career politician. He promises to defend Canada from Trump's tariffs, but with a smarter, more strategic approach. His first move, the digital services tax, targeting big tech's Canadian revenue. It's a popular move at home and a direct shot at US tech giants. Instead of retaliatory tariffs, Carney picks a fight that resonates with Canadians tired of tech companies dodging taxes. The tax is both a statement and a gamble. Carney's betting he can assert Canadian independence without triggering a trade war. He's playing chess, not checkers, but the stakes are high. The digital tax is Carney's opening salvo, signaling a new, assertive Canada. It's a bold move, but one that risks provoking America's wrath. The world watches to see if Carney's strategy will pay off or backfire. The countdown to confrontation has begun. Or UST, as tensions peak, the G7 summit in Canada offers a twist. Trump and Carney emerge from talks all smiles, announcing plans for a sweeping new economic and security deal. Diplomacy seems to win, until it doesn't. Days later, Trump suspends negotiations, citing Canada's looming digital tax as a deal-breaker. The US sees the tax as a hostile move. Talks collapse overnight. Optimism from the G7 summit evaporates, replaced by a looming crisis. The July 1st tax deadline now threatens to trigger a wave of US tariffs. Both sides dig in, and the standoff intensifies. What looked like a breakthrough is now a breakdown. The world holds its breath as the conflict escalates from disagreement to crisis. The clock is ticking toward economic confrontation. With hours to go before the tax takes effect, Carney faces a brutal choice: stand firm and risk economic disaster, or back down. In a dramatic move, Canada rescinds the digital services tax just before the deadline. The government frames it as a tactical retreat, not a surrender, sacrificing the tax to reopen negotiations for a bigger deal. Finance Minister Champagne says it's about protecting Canada's economy and keeping talks alive. The decision is coordinated with Washington, signaling a mutual desire to de-escalate. Critics call it caving to US pressure, supporters call it pragmatic. Carney bets that diplomacy will serve Canada better than a costly trade war. The pawn is sacrificed to save the king. The trade battle pauses, but the game is far from over. In Washington, Canada's retreat is hailed as a Trump triumph. The White House frames it as proof that tough tariffs work, challenge the US, and you'll lose. Trump celebrates, reinforcing his image as a strong, results-driven leader. The administration's hawks are emboldened, pointing to this as a case study for future confrontations. Critics are silenced, at least for now, as Trump claims vindication for his hardline tactics. The contrast with Canada's careful messaging is stark. Ottawa talks strategy, Washington talks victory. For the US, it's a win that sets the tone for future trade battles. The message to the world, America first, is here to stay. The celebration is loud, but the long-term costs remain to be seen. The world takes note of the new rules of engagement. While Washington celebrates, Asia sees things differently. Leaders in Japan, South Korea, and Singapore praise Carney's diplomatic flexibility. They value his willingness to avoid escalation and keep dialogue open. For many Asian nations, Carney's retreat is seen as smart, not weak, a move to protect long-term interests. Canada's reputation as a stable, reliable partner grows. As the US becomes more confrontational, countries look to Canada for new partnerships. Carney's approach is quietly applauded, offering a counter-narrative to Trump's hardball tactics. In the global arena, there's more than one way to win. Trump's victory comes with a price-growing US isolation. Each tariff threat chips away at trust, pushing allies to look elsewhere. Countries begin forming new trade blocs, bypassing the unpredictable US. Even Canada, America's closest partner, is forced to diversify. The world's trading system starts to shift, with America at risk of losing its central role. Short-term wins may mean long-term losses in influence and leadership. Allies wonder, If the US can strong-arm Canada, who's next? The cost of confrontation is a shrinking circle of friends. America's standing in the world is on the line. The recent tensions between the US and Canada signal the beginning of a new era, one where the easy friendship and seamless trade that once defined their relationship can no longer be taken for granted. Negotiations are ongoing, but the core conflict remains unresolved. Canada is determined to avoid tariffs, while the US insists they are essential to protect its industries and workers. The stakes are not just political, they're deeply personal for millions of ordinary people on both sides of the border. Higher prices at the grocery store, lost jobs in factories, and a growing sense of economic uncertainty are already being felt. Around the globe, countries are forming rival trading blocs, making international business more complicated and slowing economic growth. The once bright vision of a single, unified global marketplace is starting to fade, replaced by uncertainty and division. The future now depends on whether world leaders choose confrontation or seek compromise in these turbulent times. Will the US and Canada be able to find common ground and rebuild trust? Or will they continue to lurch from one crisis to the next with uncertainty as the new normal? The looming 2025 digital tax fight could become a pivotal moment. A seemingly small skirmish that might actually mark the beginning of a new chapter in global trade relations. The decisions made today will shape not only alliances and economies, but also the very meaning of partnership and cooperation for years to come. The world is watching closely, and as the pieces move on the global chessboard, the next move is anyone's guess.